Good morning. Welcome to today's service on this beautiful day. And let's see. Obviously, I'm not used to doing this recently. Our sutra today will be Jusei on page 23.
Gagon Chose Gan. Okay, start over. All right. So. Gagon Chose Gan. Yishimu Jodo. Shigan Fumanzo. Seifujo Shogak. Ga Umuryoko. Fuidai Seshu. Fusai Shobingu. Seifujo Shogak. Gashi Jobutsudo. Myosho Chodipo. Kukyo Mishomon. Seifujo Shoga. Ryokujin Shonen. Joeshu Bongyo. Shigumu Jodo. Isho Teninshi. Jinriki Daiko. Fusho Musaido. Shoujo San Kumyo. Kosai Shuyakunan. Kai Chi Egen. Meshi Komoan. Heisokusho Akudo. Tsudatsu Zen Shumon. Koso Jomanzo. Iodo Jipo. Nichigatsu Shujuki. Tenko Onpugen. Ishu Kai Hozo. Koseku Dokuho. Chodai Shuchu. Seppo Shishiku. Kuyo Isai Boots. Gusokushu Tokuhon. Kane Shitsujoman. Tokui Sangayo. Nyobutsumu Gechi. Tsudatsumi Fusho. Gangaku Eri. Toshi Saisho Son. Shiganya Koka. Daisen Okando. Kokusho Tenni. To Uchin Myoke. Namam Dabu. Namam Dabu. Namam Dabu. Namam Kanishi kudoku Vyodo Seisai Jotun Bodai Shin Ojo An Rako Namam Dar, Namam Dar, Namam Dar, Namam Dar, Namam Dar. What?
Will everyone please rise for the reading of the three treasures on page 3. Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, it is hard, is it, to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Please be seated, and we will now hear a Dharma message from Reverend Warwick.
Last week, I felt like one of those stool pigeons, you know, where they wire them up to send them out to have them spy on someone. We were trying to hide the cords, but today we're not hiding. And as I was talking, I pushed the wrong button and turned the machine off. So bear with me just a moment, please. Come on. The apple will come up. I'm okay. The apple's on there. So just take a minute. Grandson's not around. I get real nervous. This is one of the faster ones. Oh, there we are. Now I can say good morning, everyone. Welcome to our service today, and thank you for joining us. Please join me in Gasho for reading from the collected works of Shinran. Even though the great thousandfold world be filled with fire, pass through immediately to hear the Buddha's name. Those who hear the name rejoice and praise. will all attain birth in that land. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo. So as you know, we've had some pretty unusual weather here lately. I logged onto Facebook and Shar posted a picture and it showed snow falling, and here we are in April with snow. And I went to Fort Lewis day before yesterday. Is that when it was? Yeah, to do a service. And I got to the visitor center and the bottom fell out. I couldn't believe it. It was just that spot. I went down the street quarter of a mile and it was just beautiful. It's amazing. It's just amazing. But rain and snow and all that sort of stuff. And lately, and even back during the winter, when it's a little bit cool, we have a little gas fireplace in the living room, and Rona and I, that's where we go around noon, and we have our coffee, and we turn the little fireplace on, and we sit there, sometimes to keep warm, sometimes just something to look at, and it's certain. It's kind of a certain soothing ambiance for our together time. Kind of keeps the arguments down, and the discussion makes us be a little more civil to one another when we try to discuss it. So I've always been mesmerized by fire. I can sit for just hours, in front of a fireplace and just watch the fire. Growing up, we cooked with wood. I think early on, Mom cooked over an open fireplace, but then she got a wood stove. But for heat, for a long time, all we had was a fireplace, huge fireplace. And my older brothers and dad would toss these big logs in there and we'd be warm overnight. But I don't know, I wonder what it is about fire that fascinates most of us so much. When you go on camping trips and, out in the woods, it's not complete unless you get to build a fire. It's just no fun, and people just like sitting by the fires just to have deep conversations. Some of the presidents, I remember, they would have their fireside chats, and it's July and it's 100 degrees outside and the air conditioning going full bore, and he's sitting in front of a fire talking to us. I thought that was always kind of cute. But fire has been used in religious rituals and has been an important part of the human culture, since ancient times, actually. And I found out the other day that the earliest known traces of controlled fire were found in Israel about 790,000 years ago. That's close to 1 million years that humans have tamed fire. And it continues to be a part of many of the human cultures and religions. And for example, it's used in cremation, bonfires, candles. Most religious ceremonies involve candles. Eternal flames are used to remind of notable occasions. And speaking of eternal flame, I remember when I went to Japan for Tokudo ordination, behind the Naiji, there is a kind of an eternal flame. It's been there, it's been burning for, I think they said, over 400 years. It only went out like twice during the bombing of World War II, I think. And it was such a feeling, how would I describe it? A real connection to Jodo Shinshu, to go back and light a candle from that flame. And you can just imagine how many candles had been lit from that flame over a period of 200 to 400 years. It's amazing. They also use the Olympic flame, that burns during the whole times that they're doing the games. And most people just love to feel the fire's warmth, and some people try to test its limits by making it bigger and better, and sometimes they burn their house down. But when there is a candle or a fireplace or campfire, we just can't help but just kind of sitting there staring at it. And children, they want to get in with the building the fire. They want to light the candles. They want to do those sort of things. And I think that goes back to their DNA too, just like with us, you know, they want to learn how to control fire. And watching the flames is really relaxing. And I found out that it's also lowers your blood pressure, and it promotes relaxation, just like meditation. And it promotes a certain social behaviors. Like I said, the presidents had their deep conversations in front of a fireplace, trying to connect with the American people. And there's no wonder that so many claim that they enjoy staring at the fire. And some people say, I could just sit here all the rest of my life and just look at this fire. During the Stone Age, humans socialized around campfires, a place where they felt safe and warm. They collected wood together, they cooked together. I know when you go on a camping trip, you can feel that primordial contact with those humans. You can just imagine how they lived. But you know, a lot of things have evolved around fires. And in modern times, though, we don't have that, but yet we kind of do. We tend to settle down in front of the television or with our smartphones and check the latest news and browse social media, and that seems to satisfy some people as a sort of a form of, you know, relaxation and take the place of the socialization. But I would much prefer to sit in front of a fire than to sit with a smartphone. I can't even do that. I have to do this. But fire has also been crucial to human survival for all these, you know, million years or so. And fires are romantic, you know. You wonder why we have candlelit dinners, you know. You're going to invite your sweetheart over, you get a candle, you put it on the table, you make everything just right. And if you notice that in the movies, a lot of the romantic scenes are shot with candles. And I've always wondered why in so many of the lovemaking scenes, they'll pan over to the candle. There's probably several reasons for that, but they may even pan over. But I always wondered why. I said, darn, why are you? I don't want to look at the candle right now. But a lot of our ancestors relaxed in front of the campfires, and you know, it was an opportunity to get intimate with one another and be together. Still is, and perhaps that's the reason why some of us are alive here today, listening to this message or giving this message, because some of those distant ancestors got really cozy in front of the fire. You know, otherwise we may not have been here. So. And some people, they don't think fireplaces are, you know, a source of entertainment. People who have to cook with fire or keep warm with fire, they just don't understand, you know. I guess, I think they do, but this one source, this one doctor that I'm kind of quoting off and on here, he said that fire to them is just, you know, like a utility, and it is. But if they get away from it, or if they have time to relax, as I do now, fire does mesmerize me. It gives me a comforting feeling. And it comes from my childhood. It comes from my ancestry and everything. And so I think maybe this professor was wrong when he said they don't have any, people who use fire every day don't have any, they're not mesmerized by it, in other words. They want to get away from it. They want to get away from the stink of it, the ash and the coal or whatever they have to use. And maybe they do because it's, you know, we have evolved to the point where we just flip a switch now. We don't really have to build a fireplace. My son-in-law, he said, I've got a fireplace. It's a wood burning fireplace. It's so nice though, because I just flip this switch and the gas comes on and I light on the gas and I'm thinking, that's pretty lazy, you know. We used to have to go out and cut kindling, look for something dry wood, and then make a fire. You know, it's part of the fun, I think. To these people, this professor says, to these people, having a fireplace in your home doesn't make sense to them. You know, just for something to look at, and maybe not for me. Fire is a metaphor, and it's used quite often in Buddhism, all through the scriptures, such as the Buddha. A group of people who came before a group of people who had practiced severe austerities, and they actually worshipped fire. So they came to listen to him. So he preached a sermon on fire. He said, everything is burning. Everything is burning. The eye is burning. All the senses are burning. Thoughts are burning. They are burning with the fire of lust. There is anger. There is ignorance. There is hatred. And as long as the fire finds flammable things upon which it can feed, so long it will burn, and there will be birth and death, decay, grief, lamentation, suffering, despair, and sorrow. So when he refers to that fire, he's talking about how you fuel that fire of anger. You've heard that term before, firing the fuels of anger by doing certain things. There is anger and there's ignorance. I think I just read that. Another one states, the mind that attains Buddhahood means that the mind becomes Buddha. This mind itself means that there is no Buddha apart from the mind. This is like the relationship of fire and wood. Fire arises from wood. It cannot exist without wood. So you can't be a Buddha without a mind. Because it cannot exist apart from the wood, it consumes the wood. The wood, on the other hand, is consumed by the fire. It becomes the fire, just like our minds become Buddha. So even Dharmakaya Bodhisattva, when he was stating his vows to the Buddha at that time, Loki's, he said, with the fire of wisdom, I shall consume the grasses and shrubs of all sentient beings, blind passions. If there is even one sentient being who does not attain Buddhahood, I shall not become Buddha. So he became Buddha, therefore extinguishing or using the fire of wisdom. But I have a little story here. You might have heard it before, but I put a little bit of a different slant on it. It's a little story about a fire used as a metaphor to illustrate what I feel like is the warmness of this Sangha right now. And when I look out there, I get pretty much the same feeling being with you folks as I do when I'm sitting in front of that warm fire and watching it. It's such a warm inner feeling. So the little story goes, it says, a member of a certain temple who previously had been attending the services regularly, he stopped going. After a few weeks, the sensei decided to visit him. It was a chilly evening. The sensei found the man at home alone, sitting before a blazing fire. Guessing the reason for his sensei's visit, the man welcomed him, led him to a big chair in front of the fireplace, and waited. The sensei made himself comfortable, but he didn't say a word, said nothing. In this grave silence, he contemplated the play of the flames around the logs. You know how they kind of curl around the logs. He's sitting there looking at that. And after a few minutes, the sensei took the fire tongs, carefully picked up a brightly burning ember, and placed it on the hearth by itself. Then he sat back in his chair, didn't say a word. The host watched all of this with a fascination, trying to figure out what was going on. As that lone ember, fire, flame diminished, there was just a momentary glow, and then its fire was no more. Soon it was cold and dead as a doornail, just a chunk laying there. Not a word had been spoken since the initial greeting. Just before the sensei was ready to leave, he picked up the cold, dead ember and placed it back in the middle of the fire. Immediately it began to glow, and once more with the light and warmth of the burning coals around it. It fed off of those others. As the sensei reached the door to leave, his host said, "Thank you so much for your visit today, and especially for the fiery sermon." He said, "I'll be back at the temple next week." He got it. He got the message. This story reminds me that we long for fellowship. Other people, we want to be with other people. Other people want to be with us. We're social animals by nature. So we tend to function a lot better when we're in a community and being around other people. Function better among like-minded people. That's why we're all here. We're like-minded. We approach Buddhism in the same mind frame. In short, there is advantages to being a part of a sangha. Being a sangha it's just very simple. It's simple. It's joyous. It's calm. We're secluded here, somewhat away from the noise out on the street. And it's a free and safe life being here with each other. I feel safe being here. And a true sangha should be like a family in which there's a spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood. And if we see a people living together like-mindedly, they're capable of smiling, of loving, and then we can gain confidence. If we're around that type of people, we can gain confidence in the future. Sometimes today, the future looks really bleak if you watch, the news forecasters and that sort of thing. You wonder about diseases, you wonder about war. We're currently on the brink of possibly World War III that could eliminate civilization as we know it. But at least we're here, we're now, and we're with people we care about, like-minded people. We need each other. And I'm so glad that we're able to meet in person once again here at the temple. It would be really difficult for me to retire and not be able to see you before I go. That would be even more painful than it is already. But it's also joyful for me to retire. Rona will be smiling a lot more. Sorry, dear. With that, and please join me again in Gasho for yet another metaphor from the collected works of Shinran. Even though the great thousandfold world be filled with fire, pass through it immediately to hear the Buddhist names. Those who hear the name, rejoice and praise, will all attain birth in that land. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Again, thank you for joining us today and listening to my Dharma message, and have a wonderful rest of the day. I'll just say.
Thank you, Reverend Warwick. You're the only minister I've ever had in a long life who's made me feel profoundly uplifted and embarrassed in the same sermon. Please rise for the Gatha Undokusan 2 on page 153 and remain standing for the daily creed of Jodo Shinshu. Please turn to page 8 and read along with me the creed, daily creed of Jodo Shinshu. Realizing enlightenment is assured and reciting the Nimbutsu, I shall live my life cheerfully and positively. Understanding the oneness of life and cultivating self-reflection, I shall diligently attend to my life's tasks in gratitude. Recognizing the Dharma path, I shall help spread the teachings of the Buddha. Appreciating the Buddha Dharma, I shall respect and help others, working for the good of society. Please be seated. Please come up to Oshoku if you haven't already done so, and thank you so much for attending today's service.
Great
Oh,
job.
thank you.